My name is Abraham Alexander, and you listen to the Ranger Report podcast.
This is the Ranger Report podcast. News, insights, predictions, interviews, and information about the Texas Rangers from the major leagues to the minor leagues. And now, here are your hosts, Ben Dieter and CJ Berryman.
Experience the joy of watching your friends and family's faces light up when you feed them wild game you harvested and made them delicious sausages, or meat you barbecue and grill with the finest seasonings available. Visit our friends at Waltons.com to find everything you need to turn wild game into tasty meat snacks, or spice up your barbecue with new flavors and seasonings. With over 500 seasonings to choose from, there's something that everyone will love. They even have step-by-step videos and how-to articles at Meatgistics to help you go from animal to edible. Use coupon Rangers15 at checkout to save 15% on your first order at Waltons.com. Waltons, everything but the meat.
I've never heard that before.
Welcome to the Ranger Report podcast. We are joined today by Chris Halicke from Sports Illustrated's Inside the Rangers. Chris, how are you doing this afternoon?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Good to have you. All right. Go ahead, CJ.
Saying that, even though we've had you on, this is the fourth time. So,
I'm not even keeping count. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
We do.
Well, we do call you the Ranger Report BFF. So,
BFF. That's right. That's right. Well, I appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you, bud.
All right. You put out a great tweet earlier today that I've thought a lot about. You asked people to come up with what they would do for the rest of the off season once this stupid thing ends, and we can actually do things again. You gave them $30 million to pick up who they thought the Rangers could get before the season started. So I put one together. CJ, did you put one together?
Nope, I'm going off the cuff on this one.
Oh, off the cuff. Okay, all right.
Ooh.
Off the cuff is hard when you're talking about money.
I'm playing with house money. I'm playing with house money.
Well, that's true, but I'm just letting you know, if you're taking an opportunity to be a GM and you're making decisions off the cuff, you're probably not going to have a job for very long.
A jab from Chris Halicke.
That's right.
No, it'll make sense later. Here we go.
All right, so I'll start. I had the Rangers picking up Sonny Gray, and he is getting $10.2 million this year. So I figured they'll take on most of that salary if they get him. That'll be part of the deal. I had Steele Walker, Trevor Halver, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa going to the Reds. So, and that one, I don't know. I thought they might want a major league player, and I thought the Rangers might eventually want to move him, although I'm not sure they do. I also thought about Andy Ibanez. It was one of those two. I originally went with Andy Ibanez, and then I changed it.
My only, I'll let you finish, and then I'll kind of give my feedback on that a little bit.
All right, my second one was Seiya Suzuki. I think the Rangers have a good chance of picking him up.
That's a popular one, and for good reason, but that's a popular one.
But I don't know what'll get him, so I went with $12 million a year. You think they can get him for less than that?
I don't know about less. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, and I don't have it in front of me. I think. ESPN's Kyler McDaniel projected like 4 years, $48 million. So I think $12 million a year is about right. But then you have to take into account the posting fee as well, which I think he also projected $9 million for that. Okay. So you have to take that into account as well.
All right. And my third one, well, I hadn't come up with it. I couldn't figure out who to spend $8 million on, which is all I had left.
Right. Well, and to be fair, like that is a really, really conservative approach. I mean, it's very, very possible that the Rangers do more than $30 million. I mean, now granted, they've already spent $561 million this offseason, and to, be like, oh, they can still spend another 80 million or however much, or add, 70 or 80 million to the payroll. I'm just being a little bit more conservative there, just because I know the Rangers still want to add next offseason as well, and they have to have room in the budget for that. Yeah. So not knowing what the payroll is going to, what the payroll taxes or what the CBT, the luxury tax is going to be, I just wanted to go with a little bit more conservative approach just in case they wanted to reserve some money. And plus the Rangers have never spent, I think, more than $175 million on a team before. So, do they go to that? So I just kind of went with like maybe 160 million is a good kind of place to kind of stop. And then if they go over that, then, but it's just a little fun exercise. Yeah.
And I was trying to come up with a relief pitcher for my last one, but I just couldn't come up with one that I liked that we could get for the right price.
So, okay. So just some feedback. What was your the Sonny Gray trade?
Yeah.
So the Trevor Howard and Steele Walker, I think, could be a part of a part of a package there. It's trading. I mean, Cincinnati's infield is actually a strength of theirs. Okay. So yeah. I don't necessarily see a trade with Isaiah working out.
That takes out IKF, that takes out Justin Foskey, that takes out IKF,
Yeah.
Ezekiel Duran, it takes out Luis Angel Acuna,
Well, I mean, the difference is when you're trading Isaiah Kiner-Falefa versus trading a prospect is a prospect can still change positions.
Yeah.
The situation the Rangers are in right now, I mean, their middle infield is locked up for the next 7 years, and they could ask any of those guys, Ezekiel Duran, Josh Smith, any of those guys to possibly change positions if they like them enough. Should it happen with Joey Gallo? Joey Gallo is a third baseman all the way through, and then all of a sudden he comes up and he starts playing first base. He starts playing the outfield, and then he becomes a Gold Glove right fielder. So, it happens with anybody. Anybody can, especially. And the good thing with middle infielders, they're usually very athletic and athletic enough to play or to learn any other position on the field. Different to go the other way. It's hard to ask a first baseman to learn how to play shortstop.
Yeah.
But you can ask a shortstop to learn how to play first base. So
we don't need Nate Lowe playing shortstop. We don't need that.
No, even though he did play third base. So he's played on that side of the infield before. But, so that's pretty much my only feedback on the Kiner-Falefa being part of that trade package. The Seiya Suzuki, I totally get it. I think there's, to me, like, it's either like, if you're looking at the most likely scenario of what Rangers might do once the lockout's over, Suzuki is one of the most likely scenarios just because the Rangers are always active in the Pacific Rim scouting. This is a really intriguing player. It's controllable. It's going to be cost effective. This is it's the type of player the Rangers usually try to invest. Obviously the last one that the Rangers really pushed in all their chips in was Shohei Ohtani, and they just didn't win that bidding war. Just geography didn't work out there. But obviously they won the rights to Yu Darvish and were able to land him. Obviously the bidding system is different now, so they have to be able to make a sales pitch to him just like they would any other free agent. So overall, those are solid moves, and two moves that are that actually have some traction. The Rangers are interested in Suzuki. They've reached out to the Reds for Sonny Gray to see what's there. So those are definitely some moves that could be made for sure.
All right. So if Suzuki comes, then what does that mean for Leody Tavares? Because that means Adolis Garcia is in center, and you got Cole Calhoun in right. What does that mean?
So you could go a number of different ways. So Suzuki, it plays left field. Yeah, Garcia could play center field, or you could have, Cole Calhoun could be a DH, honestly. If you're looking at,
I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
Who's the best right fielder on the roster right now? And that's Adolis Garcia. And it's not close.
Yeah.
In my opinion, from what I saw, eye test, defensive metrics, everything, he's a Gold Glove caliber right fielder.
Yeah.
He was, his SDI was fourth among American League center fielders, and that was center field. And seeing what he did in right field, Adolis Garcia is absolutely a Gold Glove caliber. I don't know about Gold Glove winning, but Gold Glove caliber right fielder. So if you sign Suzuki and Leody Tavares tears up spring training, or whenever he gets called up and he makes a case to be in the lineup, you're looking at a situation where, okay, first off, that's a great situation for the Rangers to be in, to have too many good players. And that's one they will always take. Tavares, to me, and this isn't necessarily like a crap or get off the pot situation with Tavares. He's still very young. But
I disagree. I think it is.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily this year. If he doesn't take the reins and really establish himself this year, it's still possible he could do it going into 23, but that would kind of be their last real shot, because then you're looking at the Rangers adding more pieces next offseason. At least that's what they plan. They add more pieces. Some other guys hopefully are already established that come up. Hopefully Josh Young is an everyday player by that point, a contributing everyday player by that point. Possibly, maybe another guy from the organization, like if Nathaniel Lowe really kind of takes that next step forward and he really benefits from no, there's a wasp in my house. Holy crap. I had a wasp flying over my head. I don't know if you guys saw Levi Weaver tweeting on about like his battle with wasps. So apparently wasps are after Rangers beat writers right now. That's hilarious. And I made it onto the podcast. That's probably a great one. Seriously, there was a wasp like right over my head, and I just knocked it down with my hat.
I was raised a farm boy, so I know all about wasps. They'll sting you and they don't give a shit. They will sting you for nothing.
I can't stand wasps. That's of all the questions that I'll ask God whenever I get to heaven is, why the heck did you make wasps? What purpose do they serve? You have honeybees that can pollinate. You have plenty of, I just don't see the purpose. Like, other than like, I don't get it. Yeah. He's going to have to explain that one to me. But anyway, so Leody Tavares, you would really like to get an answer this year for sure. Yeah. If he could decide himself. I mean, he could just make the decision for the Rangers one way or the other. He could come up and just absolutely kill it, blow everybody away and be like, okay, this dude's our center fielder. There's no question. Then he could come up and he could look like he did last year again. And that would be kind of like, okay, he's had like 3 different stints in the big leagues. 2020 is kind of hard to count, but I mean, should he looked better in 2020 than he did in 2021? Yeah. So I don't know. But again, you'd rather get, okay, first off, who would you rather get an answer on, Leody Tavares or Adolis Garcia? Like who would you rather, if you have to choose one this year that you want to give every shot to make sure that dude is a legitimate part of your core next, like in the next contending core, he needs to be a part of it. And you have to choose one. Who do you want to answer on? Okay.
Leody Tavares.
Here's a counter argument, just real quick, and I'll let you explain for Leody. Adolis has proven at the big league level that he can succeed at the big leagues for an extended period of time. And even whenever he's not hitting, he is still playing insanely good defense, which Leody can as well. But even when he's not hitting, he's still finding ways to be disruptive in the lineup. He was still finding ways. He would still have the occasional homer. He would have the occasional clutch hit. Even if he went like, and I don't have numbers back this up, so I'm kind of pulling this out of like my memory. It would seem like he would go on a 1 for 20 streak, and then all of a sudden that 2 for 21, that second hit was a late inning RBI that put the Rangers ahead. So it was a big time RBI. This guy, I mean, and let's not forget, this dude hit over 30 home runs, drove in over 90 runs.
He broke all Pete and Cavilla's records.
Yeah. I mean, he's a stat. I mean, he's proven that he can hit for an entire, that he can at least play at the big league level for an entire season. Now he just needs to even it out, not have the highs be so high. Obviously you want those to be high, but to not have the lows go so low. Yeah. Where he just, but that's what I would want to get the answer on. Because I still have, if I'm the Rangers, I still have 5 years of control over this guy, pending what the new CBA gives. And I don't think that's going to change. So you still have 5 more years. And granted, he's a little older, but he doesn't have the same mileage that a 28-year-old or a 29-year-old has, because he hasn't logged the innings that most 29-year-olds have.
Yeah.
And plus the dude is built like the Hulk. I mean,
that's no joke right there.
I mean, so
that's no joke.
If you're looking at a guy to be like, I wonder if his body's going to hold up. I mean, just take a look at him and just be like, okay, yeah, I think he could hold up. As long as he's not playing center field. I do think if he's going to have any kind of longevity, and if the Rangers are really going to give him a shot, he needs to be playing a corner outfield spot. I know Chris Woodward would prefer him to be in a corner outfield position. So we'll see what happens. If they don't get Suzuki, then it kind of makes the decision for them. And then that really paves the way for Leody to come in. But if they do sign Suzuki, then you're going to kind of have to decide, okay, who's going to get the bulk of it? Is it going to be Leody or Adolis? I just made the pitch for Adolis. You make the pitch for Leody.
Leody's got the tools to be a 5-tool player. He's got the talent. It's just between his ears. And, I've seen him play in person when, Frisco came up here and played Amarillo, and you just had that air. He just had that air about him. Like he knows he's the best player in the ballpark. But now he's gotten humbled a little bit. Hopefully he's gotten humbled. And if he can harness that, and not press so much, then yes, he can be a guy. He's fantastic in the outfield. He can change a game. There was a game was it August, that he just completely took over the game, stealing bases and hitting a home run, and he stole second and third.
I think I remember that game. Yeah.
Yeah. And he just took over the game. He has that ability to do that. And so that's my contention for him. If you get a Suzuki, I think, I like what you're thinking of Calhoun going to DH. And here's the thing, which Calhoun will be DHing? Well,
and see, that's the other thing, because both Calhouns are left-handed hitters, so you can't necessarily platoon that. And this is, again, a situation the Rangers want. The Rangers want to have too many players to have to choose from.
Yeah.
Because if you come into the season with Adolis Garcia, Leody Tavares, Cole Calhoun, Willie Calhoun. I'm probably forgetting Masao Suzuki if they sign him. I mean, that's already
Eli White.
Eli White's gonna not quite be ready for the start of the season.
Okay.
At least I don't think he'll be delayed at spring training. The last that we knew. So that would kind of delay him. He would probably kind of have to be in a similar situation to what like Brett Martin and even Willie Calhoun were this past season, where they were kind of delayed a little bit by just a few weeks and then be ready to go.
Okay.
Eli White, and see, that's another, and it's those type of players, the Eli Whites, the Leody Tavares, is those guys who have that kind of speed. There is no substitute for that.
And we haven't even talked about Nick Solak either, because his future is up in the air too.
Yeah, and this is where you're looking at the Rangers possibly pulling off a trade of some kind, because at some point, yes, you want to have too many players, but you then begin to have just too many. Like you've got to make a move, especially whenever the middle infield. I mean, obviously you have 2 all-stars in the middle of your infield, and they're not going anywhere. So, and even at third base, I mean, you've got Isaiah Kiner for left and Josh Young, who are going to be competing. So,
and Andy Ibanez.
Yeah, Andy Ibanez. Don't forget about him either. I mean, shoot, that guy. I think I remember talking with Chris Woodward, like asking Chris Woodward when we were getting near the end of the season. I was like, holy crap, Andy Ibanez is going to end up logging almost half of the season, like in terms of games played. And I was like, man, that kind of came up out of nowhere. And then I looked at his numbers.
And you can argue there for a while he was their best hitter.
Yeah. I mean, and he was, it wasn't like he didn't go on the same type of tears that like Adolis Garcia went on or anything where they hit like 18 home runs in 3 games. But it was constant, consistent production. And that's, if anything, that's what Chris Woodward just wanted last year. It was, I don't know how many times I heard Chris Woodward say the word consistency last year. And that's what Andy Ibanez really brought. And he showed that his defense was far better than almost anybody anticipated, especially at second base. Now, granted, again, second base won't be there. But yeah, Andy Ibanez, man, if that dude can hit, And then he can play second base to give, Marcus Semien a day off.
He can play all four positions.
So I mean, you're looking at Andy Ibanez possibly being a really good contributor as well. So you begin to wonder, okay, we're starting to have too many players. And then you make a decision. Okay, is it Andy Ibanez or is it Nick Solak? Well, Nick Solak showed quite a bit in, near the end of 2019, but then he's kind of struggled a bit since then. He started off 21 really, really well. And then he really struggled so much that they demoted him. I mean, the Rangers are, I would be shocked if the Rangers did not make a trade where they sent away one of those players.
Or both, or two.
Whether it's to acquire a Matt Olson or a Sonny Gray or any of the other Cincinnati pitchers. So, I mean, I'll be shocked if they don't pull off a trade of some kind, just because, you begin to, especially if they do sign Seiya Suzuki. If they do sign him, then you've probably have to make some sort of subsequent move. If you don't sign Suzuki, then maybe you can go in and just, hope that depth carries you a bit, but I don't know. Sometimes there's not enough spots in the lineup to go around.
Okay, so the A's and the Rangers have a good relationship. It's kind of a scratch my back, scratch your back thing, and they always seem to make a trade every offseason. So the Matt Olson thing, it's to me, it's gaining steam, and you mentioned it and how it makes sense. So talk about that.
It's kind of twofold. So first off, if you have the opportunity to get a player of Matt Olson's caliber, it's kind of hard to say no. Yeah. I mean, this is a Gold Glove winner. This is an all-star. This is a Silver Slugger. This is he's an established player who I think is only 27, and he's got 2 years of control left. So you have plenty of time to bring him in and to extend him. I have a hard time saying no to that. As much as I am intrigued to see what Nathaniel Lowe is capable of, because of all the players, and I just did a piece on the side of potential breakout players, and Nathaniel Lowe, I didn't write it in any particular order, but in my opinion, he's the most likely to break out next year in terms of in-house players, just because the projectability is there. And I really want to see what Donnie Ecker and Tim Hires do with him. However, if you have a chance to get Matt Olson and you have a package put together that the A's are willing to accept and that you're comfortable with parting, and you're not having to mortgage any of your really central pieces to your future, like you don't have to give up a Jack Leiter or a Cole Winn or a Josh Young, and maybe the only top 100 prospect you have to give up is maybe a Justin Foscue. Okay, it's kind of hard to say no to that. Then again, if the price is just a little bit too much more than what you're willing to pay, 2022 is still an evaluation year. Yeah. It's not an evaluation year like 21 was, but it's still a year where you need to get some answers on guys. And Nathaniel Lowe,
know where you need to fill those holes. Yeah.
Yes. And Nathaniel Lowe is a player that I want to get an answer on, because again, the projectability is there. He started hitting the ball in the air more often. And so here's the thing. He had two main weaknesses other than defense. He had two main weaknesses: not being able to hit the ball in the air enough, and struggling with fastball, especially elevated fastballs. I think that those are issues. He already kind of turned around on hitting the ball in the air more often near the end of the season. So he's kind of already got that in his swing a little bit. Then you have Donnie Ecker and Tim Hires take over, two of the most respected names in the game right now when it comes to offense and developing and helping hitters reach their potential. That's really intriguing to me. I really want to see what happens with that. However, and this is why if you have a chance to get a Matt Olson, you do it. It's still a gamble. There's still no guarantee that Nathaniel Lowe figures it out.
And I think it was you that mentioned it. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Rangers would not be willing to make a Matt Olson trade unless he's willing to extend. I don't know. Like, that might just have to be a gamble. I mean, I don't think like they would be able to have that in place where like we're only trading for him if he extends. Now they would have to do that. They would have to be 100%. And again, that would be a gamble, just like it's a gamble that
Nathaniel Lowe doesn't like, okay, he's going to become this type of player. Well, there's no gambles or there's no guarantee of that. It's still a risk. It's also a risk if you trade for Matt Olson and you don't extend him. Because there is still that chance of no, he's like, no, I still want to test free agency. Then again, look what Toronto did with Jose Barrios. They acquired him and then gave him a really, really nice contract this offseason. The Rangers could do the same thing. They could acquire Matt Olson, let him play for a year, maybe talk with his agent throughout the year, if his agent's willing to talk during that kind of time, and they could figure out in the next offseason, they extend him to a nice fat contract. And that's your, I guess, big acquisition for next offseason. Maybe you still add a couple of other, nice players. But I mean, if you're looking at like your main core being Matt Olson, Corey Seager, and Marcus Semien, I think you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to say if you, I mean, Matt Olson would have to look around that infield, and I don't know why he wouldn't want to extend it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? He's going to look and see who's playing around. I mean, that would be, in my opinion, that would be the best infield in baseball, hands down, especially if Young works out to what everyone thinks he's going to be.
Well, shoot, I mean, if Isaiah Kiner-Falefa even plays third base, you have a Gold Glover at third base. You have a really good shortstop. Corey Seager, talk about his defense, whatever. He's one of the best hitting shortstops in all of baseball, and he can still play the position. He's not a liability out there. Then you have a Gold Glover at second base, and you have Gold Glover at first base. I mean, yeah, that's the best infield in baseball.
Yeah.
I don't care if Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is a bottom third hitter, but if he hits like he did in the last 2 months of last year, he'll be a guy who hits between 270 and 285, maybe 290, and
give you that defense.
And he'll give you elite defense at the hot corner. And let's not forget, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is a really good base runner.
Yeah, I
know fans want to look at OPS and be like, oh, his OPS is right at league average. It's not good enough. And nobody's asking, you know what? If you ask Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to give you more, what happened during the summer last year is exactly what happens when Isaiah Kiner-Falefa tries to do more than what he's capable of.
Yeah.
It's not that he can't. I'm not trying to put a ceiling on the guy. He got back to doing what he does really well. I wrote about it today. Looking back at the positional review, he got back to doing the things that he does really well, just slapping the ball all over the field. And all of a sudden he wasn't hitting 230. He was hitting 300 whenever he was doing that. Now, granted, that was a 2-month sample size, but still you hit 300 over 2 months. It's a pretty good streak. Pretty good streak. By the way, streak is apparently a mix between stretch and streak. So,
I like that streak.
Streak. But
Screech from Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, I was just going to say that sounded too much like Screech. No, I mean, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is who he is. He's an elite defender. He's a really good base runner, and he's a guy who's not going to hit for a ton of power, but he can slap the ball all over the field. And honestly, if for guys who are in the bottom 30 of your lineup, if they hit 280 or 290, I understand batting average is not a popular stat anymore, but the old school baseball guy in me still likes batting average. And I think guys who hit 280 or 290 are still valuable. I really do, especially when they do all the other things that Kiner-Falefa does. Too much emphasis is put on too trendy stats. I understand. I like WAR. I like OPS. I like WOBA and XWOBA. I like all of the advanced analytics. I do. It just has to be all part of this a broad spectrum in order to properly evaluate a player. Just because Isaiah Kiner-Falefa's OPS sits at league average doesn't mean that he doesn't have value.
Yeah,
and that's the part of baseball analytics that people get too carried away with, is that, oh, his OPS isn't good enough, or his one stat isn't good enough, so he's not worth, putting back on the team, or he's not worth $10 million a year, whatever you got to pay him. I think he's only projected to make like $4.9 million in arbitration this year. So $4.9 million for everything he does. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, for sure. And let's talk pitching now. We haven't talked about it much because it just seems it's kind of got a Kobe Lewis feel to it. Dane Dunning and what he did. I know he was on a pitch count limit and an innings limit last year, but he showed that he deserves to be there. So what are your thoughts on Dane Dunning?
I really liked a lot of what he did last year. First off, it wasn't until COVID, he tested positive for COVID or had to go in I don't remember if he tested positive or he had to go on the COVID list. Yeah. It wasn't until then he was taking the ball like every fifth day. And I think he did have like one kind of minor injury that he had to miss like a start or two. Other than that, I mean, you're looking at a young guy who came in his first time. Again, this is like a same theme with a lot of the 2021 Rangers, but first time going through a full season, in like, okay, you're in the rotation, taking the ball every fifth day for an entire 6-month season. This is the first time he did that. And there were a lot of, I mean, early on, he was right there with Kyle Gibson as being the best pitcher for the Rangers. And then, the league kind of adjusted and, but the sinker slider combination, it's all good. I mean, I think he projects to be a really, really good back of the rotation pitcher on a championship team. There's absolutely, and I mean, Colby Lewis, I understand, if you would go to base again, this is where you begin to, this is where some people get too carried away with just looking at Baseball Reference and looking at the numbers that they can look at. You look at Colby Lewis's Baseball Reference page, you're like, that wasn't one of the best pitchers in Rangers history. Bullcrap. Yes, it was.
He
Colby
was.
Lewis, Colby Lewis was absolutely one of the best pitchers in Rangers history. And there is no substitute for a big game pitcher. I don't care if their ERA was 4.50 or like a career ERA was 4.50. Yeah. When it matters and they need to get the job done. And most of the time, not every single time, but most of the time when Colby Lewis had to get something done, he did it.
People forget that 2010 World Series run in the ALCS against the Yankees. Everybody remembers the Neftali Feliz strikeout, but everybody kind of forgets what Colby Lewis did in that game.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. And actually, there's a good sector. There's a good sector of Rangers fans that at least I interact with that consider that to be probably top 3 performances in Rangers history. Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at top 3 pitching performances in Rangers history. I mean, Kenny Rogers' perfect game has to be up there. And either of Nolan's 2 no-nos have to be up there. And even though that neither one of these were perfect games or no hitters, Colby Lewis's game 6 of the 2010 LCS. Yep. And then obviously Derek Collins, game 5.
Oh yeah.
Derek in the World Series.
Oh man. Let's talk about that real quick. Derek Collins. He was smoking them. And Lance Berkman, I'll never forget this. Lance Berkman was in the clubhouse and they were interviewing him and they said, what did Derek Collins do so well? And he goes, he's left-handed, throws 97 and with some breaking stuff. So that's how he succeeded. I mean, he was pretty gruff about it.
No, and Derek Collins was, I mean, he was sensational that night. And then again, yes, neither one of those pitching performances are a no hitter or a perfect game, but you're looking at the stage that they're on. I mean, Colby Lewis was in an elimination game, or at least, a series clinching game. Yeah. And I gave 8 beautiful innings of just pure awesome pitching. And then Derek Collins, part of me, like just the baseball fan in me, still wishes that Ron Washington would have left him in. Just
me
to
too.
Get the complete game. But I have no issues with sending your all-star closer in to guarantee a win in the World Series. I can't fault him for that. But the baseball fan in me just wants to see a guy be able to go the distance, and especially nowadays, we're looking at. I think there was like 21 pitchers. I don't remember how many it was, but 21 pitchers who pitched 180 innings, and that's it. Wow. And I don't even know how many pitchers pitched 200. Now, granted, we're coming off of a truncated 2020 season, so some pitchers, more pitchers than normal, were on innings limits. So that number will, depending on a lockout, depending on spring training, depending on all this, hopefully that number goes up this upcoming season. But rising COVID cases, how the lockout impacts spring training, so on and so forth, that could affect the season too. So this is why baseball just needs to figure it out and get back to work.
No kidding.
Oh yeah. Don't get me started, Chris. I'll roll up my sleeves about it.
Yeah, it's for. I mean, that's something that I think baseball fans, baseball reporters, baseball columnists, and commentators, everybody they all have the same thing. Just get back to work, figure it out. The fact that it took 42 days to have the first bargaining session over the issues that really matter.
In my mind. It's ridiculous.
But I mean, and unfortunately, this is how CBA negotiations work, and it's sickening. And neither side has an agenda, and they don't want to give up anything.
Yeah.
And it's not until the real threat of lost money is staring them right in the face, and somebody's got to, it's a game of chicken. Somebody's got to be the first one to flinch. And usually the first one to flinch loses the negotiation, and the players sure as heck don't want to lose because of the way the last two CBAs went, and owners don't want their streak to end. So it's nobody's going to budge until, and this is why at first I really thought that they were going to be smart and try to get a full spring training in. I am no longer confident in that, just based off of how bargaining is going. I hope they prove me wrong, but the natural optimist in me is starting to get really pessimistic, and I don't think we're going to have a full spring training.
Yeah,
that's pure conjecture on my part, but that's just how I feel.
And it goes for us because it's hitting us personally because we want to go to spring training. We're trying to go to spring training, but we don't know when the hell it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't want to book flight and hotel if there's not going to be a team there when we get there.
Well, I can tell you, I mean, I know that at least for me, no travel is being booked until all of this gets figured out.
Yeah.
So so it's the same here. And the thing is that spring training, if you don't get your stuff booked early, you're either paying out the nose to try to get something, or it's just not there.
Yeah.
I lucked out in 2020. It was my first season covering the team, and I signed my contract in November, but there was a long process of getting set up, or I didn't even get to my first press conference with the team until mid-January. My first press conference covering the team was the Robinson Chirinos Todd Frazier signing announcement. And that wasn't until mid-January of that year. And so then it was still having to book stuff for spring training, and spring training was starting in a month. And thankfully I was able to find something and, be able to get there. So it's not fun for anybody, not fun for fans, not fun for media, not fun for anybody right now. We just need to get this done, get back to it, especially now. I know that Cowboys fans and Steelers fans and anybody whose football team is
both you and I had to deal with 2 losses yesterday.
Well, at least I knew mine was coming. I was just going in as a fan being like, I kind of hope that the Steelers kind of pull it off. But I mean, I knew there was just no way.
Yeah, the Cowboys laid an egg. You guys, hey,
I'm a Bronco fan. We didn't even make the playoffs. So
well, there you go. How many quarterbacks since Peyton Manning?
30. I don't know. It's been ridiculous.
They're on a pace worse than the Cleveland Browns.
They are.
Yeah, they are
at the moment.
They are.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
All right.
Drew Lock is not the answer.
No, Drew Lock is not the answer. None of the people they have there are the answer. But
Teddy Bridgewater was just a filler.
Let's not talk about more sports sadness for me. All right. We got the Rangers. It's got the lockout now. The Broncos don't even make the play. But at least I didn't have to watch them lose in the playoffs. Sorry, you guys. I mean, but like I said to you on Twitter, I mean, I've always respected Big Ben. What a career, man. That guy played. Yeah. I mean, played his heart out for so many years. Such a talented dude. I mean, if he's not in the Hall of Fame first ballot, then they're idiots.
Well, there was a time in his career where you couldn't bring him down.
No,
you could not bring him down.
Yeah.
No, so he was something special, and he was a Brett Favre type quarterback, but again, he was 6'5", 240 instead of, whatever Brett Favre's scrawny size was.
6'2", 210. I got that.
Yeah. So, I mean, Ben was 6'5", 240. Yeah. I mean, linebackers, defensive linemen couldn't take him down. I mean, and plus he played that backyard style. So the numbers were never going to be, as pristine as the Peyton Mannings and the Tom Brady's. And, that's the thing. That's the beauty of sports in general. I think of football the same way as I think about baseball. Not everything has to be cookie cutter. And that's the one thing I don't like about analytics. Everybody's looking to fit somebody into the same window of they have to meet this level at OPS, this level of WAR, this level of whatever. I'm like, man, every player can provide value in different ways. And Ben Rothlisberger absolutely provided plenty of value. He was
if you think about it, Tony Romo did the same thing.
Yeah, no, Tony Romo had a very underrated career.
Yeah.
He's not a Hall of Famer, but he had a very underrated career. Just honestly, the biggest difference that I can say between Big Ben and Tony Romo is that Big Ben was a big game quarterback and Tony Romo wasn't.
Yep.
Big Ben, especially early in his career, Big Ben was a big game quarterback. Yep. Yeah, he laid an egg in his first Super Bowl. He was awful. Call that nerves, call it whatever. But a lot of people want to crap on him for that performance in the Super Bowl, but they would not have gotten there without him because not only did he make the game-saving tackle in the division series I got baseball in the mind.
Jerome Bettis fumble. I remember that.
Yeah. So not only did he make that tackle, but his performance against the Broncos in the AFC Championship was, you actually might remember this, Ben.
I remember it well.
Yeah, his performance in that AFC Championship game was pretty amazing. Was that
when Jake Plummer was a quarterback?
Jake the Snake Plummer, yes, sir.
Jake Plummer was a quarterback then.
He played awful in that game.
He did not play. I had of all the games that going in, I had the least. For some reason, I thought that I knew they were going to beat the Bengals. I just knew the Bengals, like they crapped on the terrible towel. I'm superstitious when it comes to that.
It's when y'all took Carson Palmer out.
Yeah, Kimo von Oelhoffen. Yeah, that guy. I think they would have beat the Bengals even with Carson Palmer in there. I really do. I thought they were going to beat the Bengals no matter what. I was like, that whole thing of like underdog mentality against the Colts, and they smacked him in the mouth to start, and it was all great. AFC Championship was one I was really the most concerned about, just because we're going into Denver. It usually does not go well for the Steelers in Denver, a la the Tim Tebow game.
Yep.
It usually doesn't go well for them, especially when Ryan Clark was on defense, because he was such a big part of our defense and he couldn't play there because of his health condition. It usually never goes well there. And just that day, it absolutely went the Steelers' way.
Well, maybe the Tim Tebow win was the football gods getting payback for.
God, it was the equalizer. It was the equalizer,
dude.
The difference is we won the Super Bowl the year.
No, to be honest with you, as a Bronco fan, I was probably in more shock than Steelers fans when the Broncos won that game. I was like, what just happened? The dude can't throw the ball 20 yards. How did they win the game?
He didn't have to throw the ball 20 yards. He just had to.
Demarius Thomas took it.
Demarius Thomas running a slant, and Demarius Thomas outran everybody on the Steelers defense. So it was. That was the nail in the coffin for that era of that defense. I mean, that defense was great. Troy Polamalu, James Harrison, James Ferrier.
I've always respected Troy Polamalu. Yep. Always. I hate the Steelers. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm a Cowboys fan. So
I get it. I get it. I used to hate the Cowboys. I really did. Growing up, I hear the stories from my dad. I watched the old highlights of the 2 Super Bowls in the 70s. Yeah. And the 2 the Steelers won. I saw that. So you grow up with you're taught hatred. And then I moved here, and then Cowboys fans, all my friends are Cowboys fans, and they find out I'm a Steelers fan, and I get that hate. And so then I still hate the Cowboys, but over time I'm just like, you know what? I'm just kind of indifferent. I don't hate them. I don't like them, but I'm just indifferent. I'll watch. I mean, to the point where I will watch, and it actually is a perfect opportunity for me to really be as unbiased as I possibly can be to watch football games.
Yeah, so that's what I'll enjoy for the rest of the playoffs. Is I can just enjoy them for what they are, because I got no skins in the game.
By the way, if Jackie Harris would have caught the damn ball, we might be talking about a different story.
There's always something. If Neil O'Donnell wouldn't have thrown the ball
Larry Brown
to Larry Brown twice. I mean, the Steelers, dude, all the momentum was going our way. And we're down 20-7. We're down 20-7. We're coming back, makes it 20-10, 20-17, and we're heading back. And
Daryl Johnson talks about that, how, we're rolling over them, we're steamrolling them in the first half, and then all of a sudden the momentum changed.
Yeah,
and he's like, we had to find a way. We had to find a way.
Surprise onside. It was the surprise onside.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They get a field goal to make it 20-10. They do the surprise onside. They get it, go down, score a touchdown. All of a sudden, it's a 3-point game. And how old was I? It was January of '96, so I had to have been 8 years old.
I was 12.
Little 8-year-old me.
I was in college.
Like, oh my gosh, we're coming back. It's only down by 3. And then Neil O'Donnell goes and just throws it straight to Larry Brown. And he runs it back to the 6-yard line, and Emmitt Smith runs in for an easy touchdown. It's like, well, that was fun while it lasted.
All right. In case everyone forgot, this is the Ranger Report podcast. But
Sorry,
hey, man,
but
hey, it's NFL playoff. It's NFL playoff times, and one of the best quarterbacks of all time is about to retire.
It's a lockout.
So,
what else are we supposed to talk about? You know,
I mean, we had a musician on the last show, so you know.
Hey,
Abraham Alexander, dude, I sang a little bit on that one, Chris.
All right, I am not singing today.
No.
I have my voice is not good today. I can already feel it. The crap is still going around, and I'm just glad that I have the 3 covers that I'm sitting on right now that I got to release here soon. But because that buys me some time. But I mean, thanks for having me on, guys. This has been
as
great.
Always, Chris. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. We always appreciate it.
Yeah, you're the Ranger Report BFF, man.
Thanks for listening to the Ranger Report podcast. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and at therangerreport.com.